Have you ever wondered why two people can look at the same political event and see completely different realities? The answer lies in a fascinating cognitive trap that distorts our perception of the world and our political judgments. It is known as the fallacy of incomplete evidence, a subtle but powerful psychological mechanism that affects everyone. In psychology, we often call this phenomenon cherry-picking, a term borrowed from agriculture to describe selective gathering. It consists of selecting only the data that confirms our previous beliefs and ideological positions while ignoring the rest. This bias is not exclusive to politicians, although they are certainly experts at using it to manipulate public opinion. We all fall into this trap in our daily lives without even realizing our mistake or the danger it poses. This is especially true when it comes to our political and ideological preferences, which form a core part of identity. Imagine a politician presenting 3 economic statistics that show improvement during his recent term to prove his undeniable success. However, he conveniently omits the other 20 indicators that show a deep economic crisis affecting the most vulnerable populations. This is a classic example of cherry-picking in modern political communication and public relations used to sway voters. The human brain is evolutionarily designed to seek cognitive efficiency and conserve mental energy when processing complex political information. Therefore, we take mental shortcuts to make quick decisions and form immediate political opinions without analyzing all the data. One of the most powerful shortcuts is the well-known confirmation bias in human cognition, which actively filters out contradictions. When a voter identifies strongly with a specific political party, their perception fundamentally changes to protect their worldview. If the media reports a negative fact about their party, the voter looks for excuses to dismiss the information. They might say the information is false, biased, or taken completely out of context by a hostile news organization. But if the news is positive, they accept it immediately without questioning the source or the methodology behind it. This behavior creates a dangerous echo chamber where dissenting voices are never heard or considered as valid arguments. In these chambers, people only hear opinions that perfectly reflect their own preconceived notions, reinforcing their political polarization. Social media algorithms exacerbate this problem significantly by feeding us personalized content daily and continuously based on our clicks. Thus, we are constantly exposed to a carefully curated version of reality online and offline that confirms our biases. We forget that we are seeing only the cherries chosen by a hidden algorithm designed to maximize our engagement. A famous study on public opinion shows how this affects society on a large scale during election seasons. Researchers analyzed how voters react to contradictory information about their preferred political candidates and policies when presented with facts. Most participants immediately rejected data that contradicted their deeply held political beliefs and values to avoid cognitive dissonance. Instead, they clung to the few statistics that supported their candidate and ignored the rest of the available evidence. This reaction is not a matter of lack of education or low intellectual capacity, but a survival mechanism. It is a deeply ingrained evolutionary mechanism designed to protect our social identity and belonging within our chosen group. The psychologist Solomon Asch conducted famous experiments on conformity and group pressure dynamics in psychology that explain this. In a political context, this translates into immense pressure to agree with the group and maintain social harmony. If everyone in your social circle shares your opinion, you naturally ignore any dissenting voices to avoid conflict. You pick the evidence that keeps you in harmony with the group and its norms, discarding the rest. Political propaganda has used this technique for centuries to control populations and shape minds without resorting to outright lies. The mera exposure effect plays a crucial role in how propaganda operates on us by making ideas seem familiar. If we repeatedly hear a specific political slogan, we tend to accept it readily without questioning its actual truth. Propagandists do not need to show the whole truth to be effective and persuasive in their political campaigns. They only need to repeat a selected fragment until it becomes familiar to us and bypasses our critical thinking. During electoral campaigns, this strategy reaches its maximum expression and persuasive power over voters who are emotionally engaged. Candidates highlight specific cases of citizens who benefited from their past policies and programs to create emotional connections. They completely ignore the thousands who were harmed or left behind by those decisions to maintain a positive image. The voter remembers the emotional story of the individual beneficiary on the television screen rather than the complex data. Emotion overrides rational analysis when the evidence presented is incomplete and highly emotional in nature, leading to poor decisions. How can we protect ourselves from this constant cognitive manipulation in the political arena and regain our mental autonomy? The first step is to recognize our own vulnerability to these common and powerful mental traps that distort reality. We must accept that our mind prefers comfortable lies over uncomfortable and complex truths that challenge our worldview. When reading political news, we should always ask ourselves a simple but powerful internal question to find the truth. What is not being told here, and why is this specific information being deliberately omitted by the news outlet? We need to actively seek out information that contradicts our established beliefs and opinions to test our convictions. This practice is known as intellectual humility in the broad field of modern cognitive psychology and critical thinking. It involves subtlety that we might be entirely wrong about something we hold dear politically. If we only consume a media that confirms our ideology, we are actively cherry-picking and limiting our understanding. We must diversify our sources of information intentionally and actively seek out opposing political viewpoints to see the whole. Read opinions from the entire political spectrum before forming a final judgment on issues that affect our society. Do not dismiss an argument just because it comes from the opposing political side without analyzing its merits. Analyze the data in its entirety before forming a solid and lasting political opinion that you can defend. Political polarization feeds directly on the fallacy of incomplete evidence in modern public discourse, destroying any chance for dialogue. Each side builds its own narrative, using only the facts that are convenient for them while hiding the rest. This makes genuine political dialogue and compromise practically impossible in a deeply divided and fragmented society like ours. If we want a healthier democracy, we must actively combat this bias in ourselves and demand better from leaders. We must demand completed data from our leaders and political representatives at all times to make informed decisions. A critical mind is the best defense against any form of political manipulation today, protecting us from deception. By understanding how cherry-picking works, we slowly regain control over our own thoughts and our political destiny. We stop being passive pawns in a complex game of cognitive deception and propaganda orchestrated by political elites. Let us delve deeper into the historical roots of this manipulation in human history to understand its evolution. In the 20th century, political propaganda machines perfected the dark art of systematic cherry-picking to control populations. Totalitarian regimes carefully selected news to present a flawless image to the outside world and their own citizens. They hid any internal failures or economic struggles from the view of their citizens to maintain power and order. By controlling the press, they controlled the evidence available to the general public entirely, creating a false reality. This extreme historical example shows the profound danger of incomplete information in any organized society that values truth. However, modern democracies face a much more subtle and pervasive version of this problem due to media fragmentation. Today, the fragmentation of media allows us to choose our own preferred version of reality without encountering contradictions. We can watch a news channel that perfectly aligns with our pre-existing cognitive biases and never question it. We never have to encounter a dissenting opinion if we do not actively want to challenge our beliefs. This self-selection is a dangerous form of personal cherry-picking that we control ourselves without realizing the trap. We become our own propagandists without even realizing the intellectual trap we have set ourselves by limiting information. Let us examine the crucial role of cognitive dissonance in this complex and fascinating psychological process of belief. When we encounter evidence that contradicts our political beliefs, we feel intense mental discomfort that we must resolve. Our brain desperately wants to resolve this unpleasant feeling and quickly restore our internal harmony by rejecting facts. The easiest way to do this is to simply reject the new and contradictory evidence as false or biased. We find a flaw in the methodology or question the credibility of the source to maintain our original belief. A recent study on political psychology demonstrated this backfire effect clearly with real-world voters during an election. Researchers presented participants with factual corrections to widely believed political misinformation and damaging public rumors about candidates. The participants who strongly held the false belief did not change their minds at all after seeing corrections. In fact, their original belief often became significantly stronger after seeing the factual correction that proved them wrong. This fascinating effect shows how incomplete evidence can become deeply entrenched in the human mind and resist change. People treat the selected facts as their entire universe of truth and objective reality, building walls around them. They build impenetrable fortresses around these isolated data points to protect their worldview from any external logical attack. No amount of contrary evidence can penetrate these thick cognitive walls of bias that we construct ourselves. The modern echo chamber amplifies this phenomenon to an extreme and worrying degree in society through social networks. Inside an echo chamber, everyone constantly validates each other's selected facts and personal opinions without any critical analysis. If someone presents a complete picture, they are seen as a dangerous traitor immediately and expelled from the group. They are expelled from the group for breaking the fragile consensus and group harmony that keeps everyone comfortable. This social pressure ensures that cherry-picking remains the absolute norm in the group and prevents intellectual growth. We must also consider the massive impact of emotional arousal in modern political messaging and its persuasive power. Politicians often use incomplete evidence to evoke strong emotions like fear and anger intentionally to mobilize their base. Fear and anger are incredibly powerful motivators for political action and increasing voter turnout rates during elections. A politician might highlight a single violent crime committed by a specific immigrant to stoke fear and hatred. They ignore the statistical reality that overall crime rates are actually falling significantly to create a false narrative. The emotional shock of the single event completely overrides the rational statistical data in the mind of the voter.